Okay, so we have, I now have 3 documents. That's why it was being so slow. I was trying to create 3 new documents. Okay, so I have a lot of trouble selecting text, it seems. Okay, let's try that again. We have now and we have when you and we have a different time, which is when you were living. This will make sense.
When you
now,
were living.
Over here, this is the future.
2 nows. Oh, future, okay.
Over here is the future. And over here is the past. And this, of course, is
present.
Present. Now, if we look at how these things work in terms of the verb, this is I have. Is right here in the now. This is
I had.
This is I will have.
I will have.
Now this all makes a lot of sense, right? So far, everything is very clear. Where things get rather confusing. The question is not so much where are they in the timeline, it's where did they start and where did they end? So this is right here in now.
Avi, what's the difference between end and finish?
Is a grammatical difference. The meaning is the same. Something ends or something can be ended, but something can't finish. It has to be finished. Finish is something that you do to something, but end, something can end itself or something can be ended by an exterior force. So finish
starts.
Yeah. So finish can only apply to things that you finish. A thing doesn't finish. A thing can end, but it can't finish. So I can finish the laundry, but the laundry can't finish.
So the festival starts from here until
ends here.
And ends here.
Yes.
It's not finished.
The festival can't finish.
Can't finished. Can't finish.
Finish is something a person does to something.
Can I say the class finished?
No.
No.
No. The class
I've been
was
using
finished.
it the whole time. The class was finished?
Yeah, the class was finished because the professor finishes the class. It doesn't. It can only be used in that way.
Not even it's finished. You can say.
No.
Oh, no one told me. No one corrected me. I always said it's finished. The class finished. Or has finished.
Has finished.
The class has finished.
It would be has been finished.
The
Would
class has been finished. So I finished is okay? Class ended. Class has ended. The class had ended.
Here's the important part. I
finished the class.
Finished the class. Finish has to have a human involved. The class doesn't do the finishing. I do the finishing to the class. So in this case, I is the teacher. I finished the class. The class can end.
Oh, you can say I finished the class only when you were the teacher?
The person who does the finishing is the person who controls the finish. Like who controls.
So I can't say I finished the class.
No, not unless you were teaching the class. So the difference here is that end talks about when something happened. Finish talks about who made something happen. Finish has intention. End doesn't. I mean, end can be used the same way. So we have I ended the class.
I ended the class. I have ended the class. I had ended the class.
These three are identical in meaning.
2,
3. These 6 work together. I finished the class, I ended the class, they mean exactly the same thing. This is said by the teacher. This can be said by anyone. The class ended, the class had ended. Those 3, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to be in the class for this to make sense. This is about, so this is about when, and this is about, oops.
How people distinguish the difference between them? What process?
No, that's a very good question. And I don't honestly think most people do know the difference.
They know. They choose right.
They don't, though. That's the problem. A lot of the time, they don't choose right.
No.
You will hear people say this when what they mean is this all the time.
Really?
I'm sure you've heard it lots of times.
I don't remember.
Well, you'll probably notice more now. But yeah,
there is such thing.
I hear people make this mistake all the time.
There is such a thing. There is this kind of grammar point in Korean too, and I never paid attention, but it really works like this, and I can know the difference like intuitively.
Yes, this should be intuitive, but so many people make a mistake about it. It's no longer 50 or 60 years ago, this was intuitive, but so many people get it wrong now that I don't think most people notice the difference all that well. Now, if you write it, it's more obvious. I think more people write, like people who write well, they don't. But the average English speaker, not so much. They don't notice.
That's good. Thank you.
Well, that's no problem. Now, as for this stuff, When things start and end,
Mm.
so I have is from present to present.
Mm-hmm.
I had starts here. Oh, not something starts there. Oops, my bad. I had sort of goes from here and ends here. Not being nice about.
That's I have, right?
Yeah.
I have means.
I have goes from.
I have starts from 0, right?
I have
Like,
is only in the present. From present to present. I have only goes up to here.
Not until now.
Past to now.
I thought I have means since I was 0
No.
years old and until now.
That's different. That's a different word. That's a different construction. And that is I have had. And I have had
Okay.
is from here to forever. Is this not giving me black lines? Black lines. Okay, yes. So I had is from a time in the past to the present. I have had is all time in the past to the present.
All time.
But only to the present, not including the present, only to where the present begins.
Not including the present?
Not including the present.
Eh? Okay.
Up to the present.
Just before.
Just before. Now,
okay, I get it.
Is when you speak. Now is moment of speaking. Moment of speaking. That's now. It's not when something happened. It's when you're talking about it happening. This is the time when the thing happened that you're talking about. So that's where we get I had had. And that only goes from come on. Line.
Come on.
Illustrator.
Give me the line. Give Abby the line.
Line. Black. Come on. I want a black line. That's. Is it black? Yes, it is now black. So, I had had.
I had had.
Goes
yeah.
The beginning of the past backward. I have had beginning of the present backward. I had had beginning of the past back.
Okay.
No, that's a circle. I will have.
That's a circle.
Is all future.
All future, not including the present.
Present is not included.
Present is not included.
So this is where the real confusion comes.
This is where the real confusion comes.
Now, we can shift this to a different verb and it might make it a little easier. I talk. I will talk. So, today, I talk to you. I talk to you in the moment. At this point in time, I talk to you.
Today, I talk to you. Yeah, you talk to me.
Tomorrow, I will talk to you.
I will talk to you.
Yesterday, I talked
We talk.
to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have talked to you many times.
I have talked to you many times.
As in my life,
In the
I
past.
have talked to you. Now, I can say, in the last 6 months, I have talked to you many times. Like, I can qualify this with a time period. But if I don't specify the time period, it means my whole life. Like, from age 0, I have talked to you many times.
I've talked to you. I've tried to talk to you.
That's a bit more confusing, but we'll get to that in a second. This is where the real difference comes in. I had talked to you before
last month?
a particular point. So
I had talked to you before I go to school.
no. Yes, sort of. Before going to school, I had talked to you is fine. But there's no reason to make it that confusing. I talked to you before I went to school is fine.
I talked to you before I go to school. Oh, why?
So you can have
Why not? I had talked to you.
Before going to school.
I talked to you before going to school. I talk to you?
Time. Oops.
I do it every time.
I
talk to you before going to school. I talk to you before going to school. One time thing.
Yeah.
I did it once. I had talked to you before going to school. Exceptional.
So there's only one reason you need this last one. I had talked to you before going to school, but you said something bad and I didn't go. This is what I mean by exceptional.
School? Didn't go to school?
Yeah.
I had talked to you before going to school, but you said something bad and I didn't go.
This is what we mean by exceptional. And what exceptional is not special. Exceptional does not mean special. It means something
unusual event.
Yeah, no, it means the thing it didn't work. There is an exception to it. There was an error. So before going to school, but I didn't go to school. The thing didn't happen. It's a broken chain. Like we're saying, like here, I talked to you before going to school. In this case, I did go to school. I went to school, right? In this case, I didn't go to school, so this doesn't exist. So this is I use I had talked to reference the fact that this is an imaginary event. It's not in the past.
So that structure. So that structure just used to make it exceptional. That's something unusual
it's only
thing happened.
when you Now, there are some other reasons why you need to use I had talked, but in this case, it would be if there was an exception. So, like if you,
exception, that means.
yes. So the point of this is that this has to end before a past action. It doesn't mean it started before a past action. It means it finished before another action started. When I woke up this morning, I had already fallen out of bed.
When I woke up this morning, I had already fallen out of bed.
Yes.
I had already fallen out of bed.
The already is
one
not
time.
Case. The already is emphatic. You can use it or not. So the point of this is wake 7 a.m. Fall before 7 a.m. Speaking after 7 a.m.
Yeah. When I woke up this morning, I had already fallen out of bed.
So you can only use this construction if the speaking is after the action, the falling is before the action, and the waking happens at a particular time. So these three things all have to be the case to use this construction.
If I
was.
If I was, I might have said, when I woke up this morning, I was out of bed already. I was already out of bed.
That's fine.
That's fine?
That's totally fine. The had, in this case, is about this being over. It's not about it happening. It's about it being complete.
Is it the same meaning?
Yeah.
I was out of bed.
Well, this is emphasizing the fact that the falling was finished before waking began.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I was already out of bed. Already makes it happened before waking up?
Yes, but you're no longer caring in that case about the completion.
Completion of waking up?
No, the completion of falling out of bed.
Completion of falling out of bed.
Yes. So here's where the difference comes from. How long does it take to fall out of bed?
1 second?
Right. It takes actual time. It might only be a second or 2 seconds, but there is a time period during which you are falling, right? So you could wake up while falling and you would be awake before hitting the floor, right? But waking is not like that. Waking is instantaneous. You're not awake or you're awake. There's no middle ground. It's one or the other.
Okay.
It's like being alive. You can't become alive or become dead gradually. You just are. Or like pregnancy. You can't be a little bit pregnant. You're pregnant or you're not pregnant. But you can't be almost pregnant.
Yeah.
There are certain actions that work that way. But what we're talking about here is this is different from I woke up this morning falling out of bed. This is a different meaning.
I woke up this morning falling out of bed. You fell out of bed and that was the reason you woke up?
The reason is not the issue. This sentence, the fall was before you woke up. You had fallen and then you woke up. In this case, the falling and waking happened at the same time. And that's what the had construction is. It is complete before the next one starts. So this could be at 6:30 you fell out of bed. This could be at midnight you fell out of bed and woke up at 7. But if you fell out of bed at 7 and woke at 7, this construction doesn't make sense. You have to use this construction. But if you fell out of bed and woke up later, this construction doesn't make sense. You have to use the had construction. I'll give you another example to make sure this is clear.
To make sure. I had gone to the store twice before I realized I didn't have any tomatoes.
So,
before I realized I didn't have any tomatoes. Went to the store, 9 a.m., 11 a.m. Realizing tomatoes, and talking about it again.
This is a situation in which this would make sense. Does that make sense?
Realizing is after 11 a.m., right?
Right. So going to the store has to be finished before I realize it. And that's why I had. Had means this is complete before this begins. I can't do this. I can't start this until this is over. Had plus verb has to be over before something else started in the past. That's the part people often get confused about with the had construction. But yes.
Okay.
Does this all make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
This is all makes sense when I listen to you.
That is
but it's hard to use.
I don't think this is the most confusing construction in English. I think it's one of the more simple ones, but I think it is the one that English learners have the most constant difficulty with.
Yeah. It takes too long time to find the right words and right tense for it.
I can give you another reason why this is particularly confusing as well. There are several other pieces to this. There's...
What does lorem ipsum means?
Lorem ipsum means...
lorem ipsum.
It is. It is the way it is because. It exists.
What language is it?
Latin.
Oh.
Okay. When you fill with when you're designing, you don't know what the text is going to look like, so Illustrator automatically fills it with dummy Latin text.
Oh.
So
you didn't choose.
No, it's the program does it. So if I do this and I draw a box, it puts random Latin
What?
text, so it fills it with text.
Really?
So when you design, you don't normally know what the text is going to say, but you know
Ah.
text here, this big, this style, all that. So it does it in Latin.
Oh.
So then when you go
So
back,
it's just random.
yeah, when you go back and you look at it, you know that if the text is in Latin, obviously it was just the design text. And if you put in text like in English, you might think, you might forget to change it. But if it's in Latin, it's really obvious it's not what it's supposed to be. What does it actually say? It is lovely sadness after watching them.
Oh.
The rest of this doesn't make much sense. This isn't really a word.
It doesn't make sense.
Most of the rest of this is not real Latin. It just looks like Latin. There's some Latin here, but most of it's not really Latin.
Okay.
Actually, some of them are even letters that don't exist in Latin, like Y doesn't exist.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just random. You can change the random text. You can, in the program, it has a default.
You can make it in Japanese.
Well, you can paste in anything you want. Like you can say, I want to use this paragraph as random text instead of. But if you don't add anything, it picks that.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a message in it. I'm told that there's a joke in it that is specific to Illustrator. That if you read it very carefully, it's got the names of a bunch of the senior designers for Illustrator hidden in the text.
Oh.
I've never looked carefully to figure out if that's or not.
Like Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But their names are not written there. It's like if you the first letter of every word at a certain point, like the first letters or the last letters. I've never gone looking for it, but it's something like that. Because when you load Illustrator, it has on the loading screen like the names of the first 20 or 30 senior developers that worked on the project. I think their names are some text. Yeah. It comes from a time when most books were published in Latin. About 1,000 years ago, the majority of books sold in the West were published in Latin.
Okay.
So we have I go, I went, I have gone, I had gone. And before that, we have I will go. Okay, we have these. These are what I call the simple. Now we have another set. Let's run.
I will be going. I am going. I was going. I have been going. I have had gone. I have had gone.
Sorry, typing error. It's not really the same one. I had been going.
I had been going. I had been going.
Yes, we don't really need this in this list because it's in the other list. But So this is what we can think of as simple, and this is what we can think of as
simple,
continuous.
continuous, simple and continuous.
So this corresponds to
Two p.m. 10 a.m. At some point before 10 a.m.
We'll just call this ever.
At some point in the past.
Monkeys. Yes. At some point in the past. The difference is this is 2 to 3 p.m. This is noon to 1 p.m. This is 9 to 10 a.m.
Some point to some other point. But in the past.
Yes. And this is where the confusion comes. These have a time span, but the time span is unimportant. These, it is the time span that is important. This emphasizes that it lasts for a time. This emphasizes that it happened at a time.
I'll be going. I'm going. I was going. I have been going. I have been going. I had been going.
The rest of that sentence.
I had been going should be near past.
It doesn't have to be near. It just has to be before I was going.
It has to be before I was
So
going.
this one has to be before, the end of this one has to be before the beginning of this one. So this 8 a.m.
So it can be 1 year ago, 7 to 8 a.m.
It could be 1,000 years ago. English doesn't have proximate time. Some languages do, like French has approximate time. The two times that are close to each other have a special verb tense. English doesn't have a verb tense for proximate time. So I will go to the store tomorrow, next week, next year, when I'm 85, all exactly the same.
Okay.
People often talk about the children's future construction. You've come across this. I am going to go to the store.
I'm going to the store.
No, I'm going to go.
I'm gonna go. I'm going to go. Yeah.
I call this the children's future.
Children's future.
Because it's childish language. It's unintelligent language.
Going to
do something. Like that.
Going
to
do
from
something.
I'm going to the store. I'm going to the store is just the future of go. I'm going to go. I'm going to talk. I'm going to verb. Going to verb is what I call the children's future. Because it's really only acceptable for young children to use. Anybody else?
I use that often.
Anybody else using it just sounds dumb, unintelligent. But the problem is a lot of people talk about it as being the proximate.
Yeah.
They think, I say that because I mean I will do it soon. It's like, it doesn't have that meaning. It doesn't mean I'll do it soon. It means the same thing as I will do something. It's just a more childish version. It's like the difference. I talk to mom and I talk to mommy.
People say I'm gonna all the time.
I know.
I'm gonna do something.
The reason a lot of people use it is because it's very colloquial. And that's what it is. It's a lot of people call it the colloquial future. That's actually its technical name. If you look at it, if you look it up in a grammar textbook, it will be called the colloquial future. I'm going to go. And people say it's okay to use it when it's colloquial, like when it's someone you're really close to. I always say it sounds childish no matter what level of formality you're in. But yeah, that's what it is. It's a colloquial version of the future. But the important part is it doesn't have a different time meaning than I will go. I'm gonna go.
It's the same thing.
They have identical meaning. They just are at different registers. They're different levels. But it doesn't.
I thought it has difference. Going to sounds more near future than will.
That's the problem. A lot of people use it as if it meant that, but it doesn't actually mean that. And some people will imagine that's what it means, and other people won't. So a lot of people do it, and they're confused that other people don't hear it the same way they thought it was meant. So it's very dangerous to use expressions that have ambiguous content. So if you said, I'm going to eat a sandwich.
I'm going to eat a sandwich.
I would hear that as, I will eat a sandwich. In the future, I will eat a sandwich.
I'll eat a sandwich.
You haven't told me when you're going to eat a sandwich. But at some point in the future, you will eat a sandwich. Some people will hear it as, I will do it right now. Like it's
immediate.
But it is impossible to predict which of those two meanings someone will get from what you say. The proximate future meaning is incorrect. It's not actually true. But some people will imagine it there. Most people won't. I don't think most people will actually hear it that way, but some people definitely will. Yeah, that's where you get the problem. It's ambiguous.
Okay.
All of this makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Some people also use I'm going to do something as intentionality. Like, I intend to do that. I'm going to go to the bank. Not so much I will go to the bank as in the future, as I must go to the bank. But in this case, it doesn't really mean anything more intentional than I will, because I will already means intentional. It already has the intention, so it doesn't change the meaning. But that's where sometimes it gets Okay.
Yes.
All of this not confusing? Any of this weird?
It's not confusing or weird. when I just listen to you explaining.
Yeah, when you try to put it in practice, it will be a bit harder.
Yes, that's the problem.
Now, here's where the really confusing part comes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the case for Korean, but I suspect it might be.
Mm-hmm.
The border between
Mm-hmm.
I had been going and I had gone
Mm-hmm.
is not in the same place as where Japanese verb tenses break.
Mm-hmm.
So this past
Mm-hmm.
this past continuous and this past simple complete.
Mm-hmm.
In English, this is complete and this is complete but went on for a while. That difference doesn't exist in Japanese. And these two forms don't transfer to two specific past tenses. So I think this might be where you're coming from the problem, because I suspect that's the same in Korean, that there's no real difference between the past continuous and the past complete. I'm not sure, but I suspect that might be the case, because the grammar is usually pretty similar.
We have something like this.
Yeah. Oh, it
There's a
definitely
difference
exists.
between had gone and had been going
It's just
in Korean.
when you use one, when you use I had been going and when you use I had gone, might not break at the same point.
Might not break at
Like,
the same point.
when you switch from using one to using the other, might not line up language to language, and that's why it might be confusing in the mind when you use it, because you're mapping this concept to this phrasing in Korean changes to this in English, and this phrasing changes to this. Quite the same. So that is often where the confusion. I've had this with Japanese students, that this is a confusion with these complete past forms, because they're not.
Okay.
The repetitive one is another one that is a problem. So I go to the store every day is different from I have been going to the store every day, is different from I have gone to the store every day.
I had gone to the store every day means you're not going anymore. I do it and will do it until today. I have gone to the store every day until some point in the past. I've gone to the store every day. I have gone to the store every day means you're not going anymore.
Right. Until today. I have gone to the store every day. Today I will not. I had
Until
gone
they
to the store every
stopped.
day until they stopped selling fresh bread. Some point in the past they stopped selling fresh bread. That's when I stopped going.
I have gone to the store every day. I've gone to the store. Okay.
This is probably the type of example where people get the most confused about which one to use. Because this repetitive present is not intuitive.
Yeah.
That's not the same, like, I go to the store is not equal to I am going to the store.
I go to the store. I'm going to the store. It's not equal.
I am going to the store is I am currently doing it. I go to the store while it is in the present does not mean I am doing it now. It means I do it all the time. I do it and that's why it's really confusing.
That one I'm not confused.
No.
Confused anymore.
That's good. Because that one causes all kinds of errors. Not when people talk, but when they translate. So they read.
Yeah.
Like, say, if you read a sentence and the sentence is
yeah, it's different in Korean. So sometimes
like because in Korean you would use the present for what you're currently doing, right?
Yes.
Because like I don't know what it is in Korean, but I know
if it's happening like every day, all the time, we add adjective or
yeah, that's where this comes from. So when you get a sentence in Korean like I go store, like I present go store.
Yeah, we always go to
translate
store.
that to I go to the store, and it's like that's not what it means. It means I am going to the store, and that's really confusing. So the simple present is not used the same way in English as it is in other languages. And that's not an East-West thing. It's just English. In French, the simple present is used the same way it is in Korean. Only English does this with the simple present continuous present repetition thing. It's really random. I don't think there's another language that does this with the simple present, where simple present is repetitive action.